What's up, guys? It is Carly here, bringing you an update video for the month of July. I didn't do one in June just because I didn't really get all that much stuff in June, and I thought it would be just better to kind of let stuff build up, so I skipped that month, but I am here now, and I have a good bit of stuff. I have a little bit of everything, so that is pretty exciting. As always, some of the stuff I've shown off in other videos like horror pack or unboxings and things like that, so I apologize if you have watched those videos too and you've already seen some of these items, but other stuff is new to everyone. So I'm just going to go ahead and get right in, and I'm going to start with the books because that's what I have the least of here. And first up we have Stephen King's Insomnia. Got this at Goodwill, obviously, $2.99. They actually had about 6 Stephen King books, all of this type of edition, and JP grabbed 2 of them, I believe, and I grabbed 2 of them as well. Goodwill was doing good with their Stephen King books, but it seems like I haven't been finding much recently, but it's always cool to find these, and I am trying to kind of just collect Stephen King novels and eventually read them to get more familiar with his work, because obviously I've seen a lot of his movies but not read a lot of his material, so it's always exciting to find these. I don't really know much about Insomnia. I've definitely heard some things about it, but I don't really know what it's about or anything like that, but thought this was a pretty cool thing to pick up. Then after that we have The Dark Half. I got this one the same day. Once again, don't really know anything about this one. Probably know less about this one than Insomnia, to be honest. I don't really hear a lot of people talk about this one or anything like that. But, once again, it's the same style of book, so that's kind of cool just to sit on a shelf and add to my collection. And I will eventually read these books. It might take 20 years, but they will get read. Then after that, lastly for the Stephen King books at least, we have The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. I recently just showed this off in an unboxing video from Derek. He sent this to me out of the kindness of his heart, and I'll probably read this one before the other ones just because it's not as long of a book as the other one, so I feel like I'll probably get it read a little faster. And I am pretty curious about this one just because this is another one I don't really know anything about, so I'm interested to read this one and see what it's all about. And then lastly for the books we have Superstition, an R.L. Stine book, and this is apparently the first book that he wrote for a more mature readers. It says adult fiction, and apparently it's the first book that he's really written for the, adults, because he's obviously known for the Goosebumps books and the Babysitter books and things like that for more elementary school kids and as well as teenagers. So I was very curious to check this out as well, or read this rather, because I do like the Goosebumps books, and I did read The Babysitter, and while it was a little juvenile for me now, I still was pretty interested in it, so I was kind of excited to find this at Goodwill. This is one of those things that I always get excited to find because I just think it's neat. It's not like, Stephen King or anything like that, or Dean Koontz or anything that's more typical. It is something that I did not expect to find, so very curious to read this and see what it's all about. So that is it for the books. I'm going to go ahead and get into the VHS here. I have a few, and first up we have a movie called The Witches of Eastwick. This is obviously more of a comedy, but, witches are kind of scary, I guess. I kind of just picked this one up because Goodwill had a few horror movies or horror-ish movies, and anytime they have anything really, I do try to pick stuff up. JP does the same thing, just so Goodwill doesn't think that no one's buying their VHS, because they actually don't, at least mine doesn't. They'll stop putting out certain things if they find that it does not sell. For a while they stopped putting out, movies that weren't Disney, and we asked them to start putting them out. So this is one that I just picked up just because I wanted to give them a sale. I will watch this, of course. It's about 2 hours long, so it's not really on the top of my radar because I hate when a movie's too long for some reason. It just kind of turns me off from it, and this isn't really horror, I don't think. It's got like Jack Nicholson, Cher, Susan Sarandon, and Michelle Pfeiffer, so very well-known names. I really have never even heard of this movie, to be honest. I don't know if it's very popular or not, but it's got a pretty all-star cast there, so I am kind of curious on it. Just probably won't get to it as soon as other films. After that, we have Leviathan, another one that I picked up at Goodwill. The VHS cover is kind of in shitty condition, but whatever, just picked this one up because, once again, it was a horror type of movie. It seems like something that I honestly might not care for, but I believe it was Derek commented when I posted this on my Facebook page and said it's one of his favorite horror movies of all time, or movies in general, so that made me a little more excited and curious to check it out. But for me, I feel like I might not care for it as much as other movies just based on the cover and title alone, but we will just have to wait and see. Then we have a film called Man's Best Friend, which I did watch, and I was actually really surprised. I actually really enjoyed this film. It is more of a horror comedy, which I thought it was going to be just straight horror. It's another dog type of horror film, so I thought it's going to be very Cujo-esque or something like that, but it's got Ali Sheedy, who is known for The Breakfast Club and some other 80s movies, so I thought that was pretty cool. I really liked her as the lead character in this, and it was a pretty fun film, honestly. It did have some good, darker moments to it, but there's just a very light-hearted vibe behind it with the soundtrack and just what's going on, and there are some moments that do come off as pretty funny. So I did really enjoy this movie, and this is one that I didn't really know anything about, so I was glad to pick it up and was pleasantly surprised by it. After that, we have Scanners. I was really excited to find this one as well because I think the cover is pretty cool for one thing, and also I had never seen this movie, and it was one that I really wanted to check out. I did check it out, and I actually did not care for this movie all that much. It just didn't do it for me. I personally just find movies like this to be a little bit boring, and it really wasn't what I thought it was going to be, so I was honestly a little disappointed by Scanners. I know a lot of people really, really love this film, and I respect that, but it wasn't for me, and JP even said that he knew I was going to hate it. Can't say I really hated it. It was just kind of hard for me to pay attention to, so I'll probably give it another chance later on in life, but for now, just not really my cup of tea. I am happy to own this VHS, though, because I do think it's kind of a cool cover. You don't really see this as the cover all that often. Then we have Cujo. Picked this up along with Man's Best Friend. I have a feeling that the same person probably dropped both of these movies off at the same time just because they're both kind of killer dog type of movies. And Cujo is also a classic movie that I was pretty excited to watch because I had actually never seen it before. It's one of those very common ones that it seems like everyone has watched, but I was one of the people who had not, so I had been very curious about it, and I was excited to find it on VHS because that's just kind of a cool format to have a movie like this on. And at first I wasn't really digging it, to be completely honest, but once you get in the car setting with just the mom and little boy, I thought it was pretty terrifying. I think Cujo is just a very scary dog, and I also feel bad for the dog because it's like it's supposed to be this like evil dog trying to kill them and things like that, but it makes me sad when I see a dog being the center of, bad things just because I love animals. But, other than that, I thought he was really scary. I thought the little boy in this movie was annoying as hell, though. I could not stand him. He is just so screamy and whiny, but then again, he's also like 5 years old or something like that, so it's honestly pretty realistic, and it just gets your anxiety up a whole bunch because you could tell the mom's losing her mind just trying to deal with the situation and her son freaking out. So in a way it does add to the movie, but at the same time he did kind of annoy me and distract me. But all in all, thought it was pretty good. It's also a film that I was told about countless times, so I felt like when watching it I had already seen it even though I hadn't. So that kind of ruined the impact a little bit just because I already knew everything I needed to know about this film. But besides all that, it is a pretty solid film, and I do still recommend it if people have not seen it. Then lastly for the VHS here, we have Disturbing Behavior. Picked this one up at Goodwill. It was like the only horror type of movie that they had there the one day, so I figured why not grab it. I thought, you know, it looks totally 90s, looks like it would be very, very Scream era, obviously. I think this came out in like 1998, so it definitely had that like Scream vibe to it just based on the cover alone and reading the description on the back. And I did watch this one, and I did find it to be pretty enjoyable. I really like the very 90s soundtrack throughout it as well, because I love 90s music, so I really liked that. And like I said, it had that very Scream era type of vibe behind it, which, you know, I'm kind of a sucker for. It depends on the movie. Some movies from that time period are pretty bad, you can't deny it, but I thought this one was actually pretty solid. The cover is awful. Obviously, it looks like it would be a soap opera or some drama or something like that, but that's kind of to be expected for the time period. But this is one that I would definitely like to go back to because I did really enjoy it. After that, we are going to move along to the DVDs here, and I honestly haven't been picking up a whole lot of DVDs lately, mainly because I've just been on a Blu-ray kick, and I always like to find VHS out in the wild, so DVDs just haven't been my top priority, and most of the DVDs here are ones that were given to me. In fact, I think all of them are except for one of them, so that's kind of interesting, but we will get right into this. And first up, we have Assault on Precinct 13. This is a John Carpenter film that I have not seen yet, mainly because I know it's not really a horror movie. I think it's more of an action type of film. Says it combines elements of a classic Western and modern thriller. So, you know, thriller, action, whatever. But I know a lot of people say this one is really, really good, one of John Carpenter's best movies. So I'm very curious to eventually check this one out. And I will probably add it to my horror collection just because it's John Carpenter and has the thriller title in the genre. Austin actually gave this one to me. I believe he got the Blu-ray upgrade, so thank you to Austin. I am excited to watch this one just because I have heard pretty decent things about it, so thank you, Austin, for that. Next up, we have movies that I already did in my previous unboxing video, so I apologize if I am repeating myself here, but first up, we have White Dog, and these are all by Derek, by the way. This is a Criterion film, and I hear this is pretty solid. You know, I didn't really know anything about it, but some people were commenting saying it's an amazing film, so I am very, very curious to check this out. It seems like it would be something that I would find pretty interesting, so pretty excited with this one, and I really like this cover. It's just very interesting how it's just all white, and it's called White Dog, so I really like that about it. Very curious to check that one out. Then we have Suicide Club here. This is another one I'm pretty interested in because I know Derek has told me about this one, and the plot just sounds like something that would be pretty up my alley. So once again, really excited to give this one a watch. Then we have Hair Extensions. This was the one that I was mainly curious about just based on the cover and title alone. It just seems like it would be a really fucked up type of movie, especially looking at the back of the cover as well here. I just think it's going to be pretty messed up, and you know, I've said before I don't really like depressing type of films, but sometimes I am in the mood for them because if they're done right and done well, I think they're some of the best horror movies. Then there's the other extreme where if they're just sort of torture-y movies for the sake of showing torture, they are actually horrible films. So it could go either way, but I'm sure since this is one that Derek likes and he has pretty good taste, that it will probably be pretty satisfying. Next up, we have Dream Home here. Just based on what I've read on the back, this one also sounds pretty good and sounds like something that I will enjoy. Once again, sorry if I'm just like repeating myself. I haven't gotten around to watching any of this stuff, unfortunately, yet because it seems like every night I end up busy doing something or preoccupied, so I haven't been watching nearly as many movies as I would like to. So that is why I can't really say much on these films, just because I've already said what I had to say in the unboxings. But yeah, so sorry about that. But once again, this one looks like something that I will really like. After that, we have The Black Cat, which was one I was pretty excited that Derek gave to me because it is one that I've been wanting to check out. Even though I'm not really huge on Italian horror, I still want to get more into it and watch some of the bigger titles. And this is definitely one of the bigger titles in Italian horror that I know a lot of people talk about and really like. It is a Lucio Fulci film, so I am pretty excited to watch this one. Like I said, I'm not really huge on Italian horror just based on the movies that I have seen, which has not been that many to be fair, but I still want to watch these more popular ones just to see what everyone's talking about. Then we have Witchboard here. This is the one that I said I don't know if JP watched it or not. I feel like he was talking about a different movie with like the same title, but I could be wrong. This just doesn't seem like the same film, but I am very curious to check this one out as well. It just looks pretty interesting, and like it might be a little bit disturbing just based on the back of the cover. So thank you once again to Derek. I will watch these movies. I promise they will all get watched. I just have not had the time as of late, but I should be having some more time in the coming weeks, so I'm going to start watching stuff a lot more often like I used to. But to finish off with the DVDs, I forgot I got this, but we have Never Sleep Again, the documentary on the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and posted this in the 22 Shots group, and everyone's like, why are you watching that if you don't really like the Nightmare movies that much? I don't really think that matters. At least I've seen the franchise. It would be different if it was a documentary on a franchise that I had not seen any of the movies in. I think that would be pretty pointless, but since I had seen the movies, I was really curious to check this out because I really liked the Friday the 13th documentary. I thought that was really fun, and I thought this was great. You know, I think it might be even better than the Crystal Lake Memories one, if I'm being completely honest, even though I do like the Friday films a little more. I just think the way this documentary sort of covers different things is a little more well done than the Friday the 13th one. And to be completely honest, I think the cast who they get to come back for these films to talk about them is just a little more entertaining to listen to. You know, I love hearing from Wes Craven and like Robert Englund and dude who played Kincaid in part 3. I forget what his name is, but you know, just overall, I really enjoyed listening to them talk about the films, and it made me want to go back and rewatch this franchise, honestly, because this is not a franchise that I really go back to. So, you know, was pleasantly surprised by it, was really entertained by it. It took me 2 days to watch it because it's about 4 hours, but I highly recommend it if you have not seen this and you have seen the Nightmare movies, whether you're a fan or not, because even if you're not a big fan, it is still very, very interesting. And then lastly, for the DVDs here, guys, we have Tony. Picked this up at a Cash and Culture. I saw the cover and the title and immediately grabbed it and was really, really excited, even though it's not a movie that I had ever really heard of. It just, based on the cover and the title, it seemed like a movie I was really going to love because I love movies that are kind of focused on one character, and they are, you know, character studies, I guess you would call it. I like movies like that. I've said that many, many times. I like films like May and, you know, American Mary and Alice Kills, stuff like that. So I figured this was going to be that type of movie, especially after I read the back, and I really enjoyed this. If you're into movies like this, I would definitely recommend checking it out. It is very strange. You're just kind of following this awkward dude around, and his big sort of secret is he kills people in his free time, but since he's kind of a social outcast, he's sort of getting away with it more than someone who would be more in the light. So it is very disturbing in that aspect, and it's also just entertaining, and there's some like what the F moments in it just because you're following this strange dude. But yeah, if you like films of this nature, I would definitely recommend it. Okay guys, lastly, we're going into the Blu-rays, which is the biggest pile I have here. I kind of went overboard with Blu-rays in the past 2 months just because some companies were having sales, and I've been trying to pick up films from different companies now instead of just, you know, random cheap stuff like that. So And I also got 2 horror packs to cover here, so here we go. Start off, I'll talk about the ones that I got from Vinegar Syndrome, and that is Christmas Evil. I have not watched this one yet, mainly because, it's not even Christmas time, and when it comes to Christmas movies or Christmas horror movies, for that matter, I really don't feel like necessarily watching them out of season, when it's not winter or anything like that, because it just doesn't, I'm just not really in the mood for it, I guess. I could probably watch a Halloween film when it's not October, but when it comes to Christmas, I'm just not really in that vibe. So I have not watched this yet, and I've never seen this film. I know some people have mixed opinions on it. I think it's kind of a more serious type of film, and I think some people think it might be a comedy or something, and that's why they kind of have problems with it. I don't really know for sure. I don't know all that much about it. I just know a lot of people really love it or they really hate it. So I am very excited to give this one a watch. Don't know if I'll wait until Christmas time or not. I might watch it sooner than that. But yeah, for now it is still sealed, and I am happy to own it. After that, we have Graduation Day. We actually did another movie night thing over at our friend Matt's house with the Schroyers, Andrew and Austin, aka the Woodsboro Bros. And we did a double feature with this and Final Exam. It was my picks, so I figured that would be the perfect kind of matchup because I had never seen either movies. And the reason I picked this up is because it is a slasher film, and I've been trying to get more into slashers because I feel like I've seen a lot of popular mainstreamy type of ones, the ones that everyone knows, like the Friday franchise, obviously, all the franchise type of slashers, but there's a lot of standalone ones and just lesser known ones that I hadn't seen, so decided to pick this up. This movie, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of looks like crap. Like, it's from 1981 and it looks like it's from like 1971. It's just not that greatly filmed. It's obviously a lower budget film, and the certain aspects to it are very, very cheesy, I will say, but it was pretty fun and entertaining to watch in a group setting. I don't know if I would ever really want to go back to this movie, but for what it was okay. After that, we have Madman. I had to pick up Madman because I saw it at a drive-in, and it was a great experience. It was my first time seeing the movie. I thought it was fantastic, gave it an 8 out of 10, and I absolutely loved it, and I know it's a more bottom tier slasher, so I was curious to rewatch it and see if it was just the setting that kind of made it for me, and, I'm not gonna lie, it definitely, the setting helped, and it was being my first time watch and being with friends definitely helped as well, because on second watch, I could definitely see the issues with this movie, but my rating only went down, I believe, a point. I think I give it like a 7 out of 10 now, but I still think it's a very good slasher and a bit underrated because I think the Madman character in this is very terrifying, and I also think there's some shots throughout this movie that are really good, especially because it's filmed all at nighttime mainly. Actually, I think completely. I think it's all set at nighttime, and there's just like some nice blues and just good atmosphere throughout this movie. The only problem I really have with it is the characters in it kind of suck, and some scenes kind of just go on for a little too long, but other than that, Madman, I think it's a pretty decent slasher for what it is. Next up, we're getting into the Scream Factories that I picked up, and first up we have Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. I saw this movie for the first time because JP wanted me to check it out, so he let me borrow his Blu-ray from his collection, and I thought it was a fantastic movie. It's just these people kind of documenting this guy who's trying to become the next big serial killer, and then the ending kind of plays out with him, going through with his plan. So I think it's pretty solid. Some people have a problem with the tonal shift towards the end, but I don't really think it's a big deal, and I still think there's some comedy tapered into it because this is a horror comedy for the most part, so I don't really see it as a huge issue, but I can see what people mean, definitely, but I think this is pretty solid, so when Scream Factory announced they were releasing it, I figured why not pick it up because I did not own it. After that, we have Body Bags. I actually got this from Barnes & Noble because I had a gift card, so I actually got this for free because I had a gift card, and I also got some discount, so that was pretty cool. I only picked this up because we were doing it on the Body Bags podcast, the latest episode. We did a 90s theme, and I had never seen this film before, and I thought it was awesome. I always kind of stayed away from it because I thought the title Body Bags was kind of stupid, and I didn't realize it was an anthology film, so I thought, what could this movie possibly be about? But I really like this movie. I loved all the shorts in it. There's only 3 shorts, and then like the wraparound is John Carpenter kind of doing this sort of almost like a Crypt Keeper deal, and I think he does fantastic too. You don't really see him playing in his own film, so I thought that was a pretty cool idea there. Definitely a great film, definitely underrated, I must say now, for a John Carpenter movie, especially, you know, it's from the 90s, and it's really, really solid. It still has sort of an 80s feel to it, especially with the first short that you get, so really, really recommend Body Bags if you guys have not seen this one yet. Next up, we have Final Exam. Like I said, we did a double feature of this, and I got this one from Scream Factory, so I figured it was the perfect mashup with Graduation Day, just based on the titles and what's going on in the movies. They kind of have that school setting, and they're both slasher films, and I believe they're both from the year 1981, so perfect. I like this one a little more than Graduation Day. I still had some issues with it. You know, I know Andrew loves this movie. I can't see myself rewatching this over and over again or anything like that. It wasn't just that entertaining to me, but with that being said, I thought it was much better compared to Graduation Day, and I really like the characters a lot more in this film as well. I also like the idea of the killer and how it's just this random dude, and he kind of gives off a Michael Myers vibe, but he's not wearing a mask, and I actually think that's pretty creepy, honestly, throughout the movie, so I did like that about it. Overall, not that great, but also not horrible either. After that, guys, we have Hell Night. I'd wanted to see this movie since I was a little kid because my mom told me a story about how when her and my aunt, you know, her sister, were younger, they were watching this movie, and they kind of had the volume down because they were watching it late at night while their parents were asleep and they weren't supposed to be up, and there was a part at the end that made my aunt scream out loud, I guess, and then my grandparents went in and yelled at both of them, so just that story alone I always thought was pretty cool, and I always wanted to watch this movie but never got around to it when I was younger, so this is another one that Scream Factory recently put out, and I just had to pick up, and I thought it was pretty good. I really like the sort of house setting. It reminds you of like House on Haunted Hill or Night of the Demons type of vibe behind it, because you just have these people in this house, and then there's some dude going around killing them all, and the only thing about it is I really don't really like Linda Blair all that much. I think mainly just because I hear she's such a bitch in real life, and that kind of kills the vibe for me whenever I see in her movie. I know that's got nothing to do with how she is as an actress, but just knowing that information always kind of rubbed me the wrong way with her, and there were some parts in this movie that I kind of just got a little bored by, I guess. Just while I love the sort of creepy house setting, I also get a little bored by that just one setting atmosphere sometimes, but other than that, I thought it was pretty solid, pretty well made, and yeah, you know, pretty decent characters, even though I don't really like Linda Blair. After that, we just have some randoms here. We have The Green Room. I picked this up at Cash and Culture probably like a month ago now, and I still have not gotten around to watch it. I really want to watch it, though, because I hear this movie is absolutely amazing. It's just another one that I have not gotten to yet because I really haven't had the chance to watch movies, and I haven't really been in the mood to watch this one whenever it comes time to actually watch film, so still need to watch this one. After that, we have The Deadly Bees. This is another one that Derek gave to me, and curious to check this one out just because it kind of tries to compare it to The Birds on the back cover, and it is an older film, but some people told me it was kind of a boring movie. Derek said it's just more of a slow burn, so I'll see how I like it. You know, some of these movies that are under the year 1970, I have troubles with because I do have trouble focusing and paying attention to older movies. I will admit it. You know, I love films like Psycho, obviously, and the old King Kong and things like that, but other than that, these just older movies, sometimes I do struggle with watching, but I am curious about this one. Then we have another one that Derek also gave me, and that is Just Before Dawn here. I'm pretty excited to own this one because it is another slasher that I have not gotten to yet, and like I just said previously, I've been trying to pick up more slashers and try to give them a watch because, slashers are just fun movies, so it's interesting to watch them, and this is one that I know I've heard people talk about, and it's one that I've always been curious about just based on the title alone, so I'm really excited to have this, and I'm very grateful that Derek passed it on to me because it's one that I kind of always forget about, honestly, to try to pick up or anything like that, so him giving it to me kind of reminded me that, oh yeah, this is a movie that I actually really want to check out, so thank you again to him. Lastly, guys, this movie is, this video is going on past a half hour. This might be one of my longest videos ever, so I apologize for that. I know people don't like watching short films sometimes as videos, but I had a lot of stuff here, way more than I really thought about. I really let it accumulate, but if you like these types of videos, this is great for you. But I'm going to get into the horror pack movies here, so once again, I already do horror pack unboxing, so I understand if you don't really want to watch this part, but I'm just going to be, reiterating what I've said in previous videos and those unboxings. But yeah, first up we have Last House on the Left. The disappointing thing about this is it's kind of, the cover here is a little damaged, I guess you could say, so that was a little disappointing to get it like that, but I was pretty excited to get this on Blu-ray. This is, of course, the original movie. I always think this is the remake. The cover just looks more modern to me, so I always get confused. But this is the original film from, what year did this come out? 1972, and I really wanted to rewatch it because I had very mixed feelings on it the first time I watched it, and I did rewatch it, and I gotta say, I am just not a huge fan of this film. Mainly the music cues throughout it, that's what really does it for me. The reason I don't really like it is I didn't notice the first time how the music is just so sort of quirky and weird throughout the movie, and like that kind of bothered me even more than the bumbling cops. There's just way too much comic relief going on in this film for what the film is. It's a rape revenge film, and it should have been played much more serious. But with that being said, it is watchable. It's not like I'm bored by it or anything like that. It's not wildly entertaining either. It's pretty depressing what's going on, but I understand why it's so popular. It's just not really for me. Next up we have Resolution, which Derek recently told me that this is actually the first movie, and the movie that just came out this year, I believe, called The Endless, is sort of a loose sequel. I think it's got like different characters and different stuff going on, but I think there's elements to it that make it a sequel to this movie, so he warned me to try to watch this one first, and I did watch this. I gotta say the acting was phenomenal in it, and I like the setting. I didn't overly care for it though, what was going on in it. The story just really wasn't my type of story, I guess, but I thought it was really well acted and really well shot, so I can see why a lot of people really enjoy this one. But for me, I just didn't really care for the story all that much, but I am curious to check out The Endless now, just knowing that information. After that, we have Hansel and Gretel Get Baked, and I thought this was going to be a horror comedy for obvious reasons. I mean, just the title alone, but I've been told that this is actually straight serious, so that is pretty surprising to me, honestly. Just, the title is really misleading, so obviously I have not checked this one out yet. It is still sealed as well. I do kind of like this cover, how it's like very greenish, but I am curious to watch it now just because I hear it's not a comedy, and it does make sense because Hansel and Gretel Get Baked, that I thought it was going to be something about weed or something like that, honestly, but I guess it literally is Hansel and Gretel Get Baked. That is what the story's all about, so it does make sense. I am curious to watch this one. Then we have Stonehurst Asylum. Says from the mind of Edgar Allan Poe, which I didn't notice the first time around. I was looking at it the other day, so I guess this is kind of based on Edgar Allan Poe stories or a story. I don't know if he has, I don't really know a lot about Edgar Allan Poe, honestly. I know his main stuff, so I don't really know what this is going to be all about. My first impressions of it was that I'm just not going to really care for it because it looks like it's set in like older times, and just the title alone, it just didn't seem like something that would interest me. But now I am a little bit interested just because I did read that thing that said From the Mind of Edgar Allan Poe, and I do appreciate a lot of his work, so we will see. Once again, this is sealed. I don't really know anything about it, so I can't really give full opinions on it, but I will check this one out. Then we have the Black Dahlia. This is, I hear, more of a crime type of, true crime type of film. It's not really horror, but I guess because what's going on in the movie makes it sort of horrifying, so I can understand why Horror Pack would put this in the pack. Once again, I did not watch this one yet, so I can't really tell you if it's horror or not, but I could tell it's probably just based on the crime and what happened here. I know nothing about this story, to be completely honest. Obviously, I've heard things about the Black Dahlia and things that went on, but I, can't really tell you anything about it, so I do want to watch this one to see what it's all about, see how it's set up, if it's like a movie or a documentary or what, I don't really know. So very curious to watch this one eventually, but it's just another one I haven't gone around to. After that, we have Pieces. I did rewatch this one because we got this Blu-ray and Horror Pack, which is actually the Grindhouse Blu-ray, so that is actually exciting that Horror Pack is kind of stepping up their game and releasing these nice editions. Obviously, they had to, it's the Horror Pack exclusive, number 23, if you can see that. So they just put the Grindhouse Blu-ray in here, but they had to put a Horror Pack cover around it, so it's not like the same cover or anything like that. But with that being said, I thought it looked amazing. I remember watching my DVD of this film, and it looked like it was filmed on a potato. At least from my memory, I'm pretty sure it was this movie that looked that way, and it completely kind of took me out of the movie. But this is just so crisp and clear, and I was really happy to get this. Pieces, it's a movie that I do like. I think it's got amazing gore effects in it, and it's very, just bloody, and I do think the story is pretty interesting, but it's not one of my favorites, to be completely honest, but I do like it, and I am happy that Horror Pack put this one out, or sent this one out, whatever you want to say. But next up we have The Editor. This is a parody of Giallos from Canada. I know I said that completely wrong in my unboxing because I didn't really know anything about the film, to be entirely honest, so but yeah, it is a Canadian film that's set up to look like an Italian film, and I gotta say, I did watch this, and they do a very good job of making this seem like an Italian film. It is, like I said, more of a parody type of movie. Jerry told me to go into it thinking of it as a scary movie type of movie, just the scary movie franchise, so that's kind of how I went into it. For me, I did not really care for it. It did have some funny moments, but I do not really like Giallos, Gialli, whatever you want to call it, and I have not really seen a whole lot, to be completely honest, so I feel like there was so much that I missed out on just because I don't really like those films, and I haven't seen a lot of them, but I could definitely see how people who are into these type of Italian movies would get a kick out of this film. I thought it was well shot, and I really liked the colors. It did feel very Italian, so I thought that was pretty cool, and I think this might be actually the Scream Factory release. I could be wrong, just because the spine has the same type of font and things that Scream Factory has, and I hear that Scream Factory and Horror Pack are kind of making deals with each other that they can put out their films as long as they change out the company. It says Raven Banner down here instead of Scream Factory, so it's not even that. So I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is their release. I might sound like an idiot right now, but JP thought the same thing, and just based on the cover alone, I feel like it might be, but like I said, I don't know for sure, but that is pretty cool, and the movie did look pretty good. Lastly, guys, we have Devil. Already owned this one on DVD, so I did pass on my DVD to Mr. Austin because he actually did not own the DVD, surprisingly, so pass it on to him. And I already watched this movie this year, so I'm not going to rewatch this Blu-ray, but I think Devil is a pretty solid horror or thriller type of movie. You know, it's just a fun movie. It's a contained film. You're focused on this elevator with, I believe it's 5 characters who are trapped in this elevator, and I think it is pretty solid. Not one that I would run back to a whole lot, but if you just are feeling kind of lazy and want to just throw something on, I think this is the perfect type of film. I believe I give this one like an 8 out of 10. So, yeah, pretty good stuff. I do recommend this one if you guys have not checked it out, but that is it for this long update, guys. Sorry, I know I talk a lot sometimes and kind of ramble on, but when I have seen the movies, I feel like I should give kind of my opinions on them, or else it's just going to be me kind of throwing the movies, passing them on, saying like, this is pretty interesting and things like that. So I do like to give my opinions if I have watched them, and that is why this video is going on 41 minutes. So thank you guys for watching this. If you stuck around for the whole thing, thank you very much. And yeah, I'll see you maybe next month with my next update. So thank you for watching. See you next time.